Hyun Jin Ryu completed his first rehab start for the Toronto Blue Jays in the Florida Complex League today against the Detroit Tigers minor league team. He looked good. All indications are pointing that he looks healthy and that he looks ready to make an impact at the major league level. So we'll break down what he could mean to the Blue Jays in this season and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. We thought we would bring you this news right away as Hyun Jin Ryu has just completed his first rehab start for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, he is 37 years of age. We don't know what kind of impact he will have going forward, but no one could have foreseen the Blue Jays having this many holes in their starting pitching rotation. So his addition will be a very welcome sight for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I was going to say, coming into the season, we didn't expect Hyun Jin Ryu to have much of an impact, and you even said it at kind of the pregame or the preseason streams that can't expect much out of a 37-year-old Hyun Jin Ryu. But we're at a point now where our fifth starter spot is still up in the air. The trade deadline is approaching, and Hyun Jin Ryu is someone that seemingly is going to be returning very, very soon. Let's just get right into it now. Before we do, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 7,500. And this was tweeted earlier today from Thomas Hall. And all this news kind of just developed today and happened over the past few hours. Hyun Jin Ryu has been assigned to the Florida Complex League, the Blue Jays, and will start today versus Detroit. And like you said, his start just wrapped up there, and he did very, very well. As you can see here, he exits after 3 impressive innings, allowing 1 run on 4 hits. The rehabbing lefty struck out 3 of his final 4 batters faced and is pleased with his first live game outing post Tommy John surgery. And he is progressing much faster than we expected, much faster than a lot of the broadcasts expected. I know Buck Martinez a while ago, I think it was a couple games ago, spoke on how his return might be very, very soon. We'll touch on in a second. But are you impressed with Hyun Jin Ryu, and do you think he'll have much of a role going forward? I think we didn't expect coming into the season he will, but it seems like he might be thrown back into the fire out of kind of mandatory.
Yeah, Nick, I mean, obviously we didn't see the film, we didn't see the highlights of his start, but I'm just impressed of the timeline that Hyun Jin Ryu has been on. The whole talk has been about Chad Green being the first pitcher to be back from Tommy John surgery, and for good reason. I mean, obviously he's going to play a bigger role than Hyun Jin Ryu was expected to, but now with Alek Manoah struggling and we don't know his timeline to return to the big leagues, Hyun Jin Ryu could be a valuable piece in that fifth starter spot. And it's better than having a bullpen day every fifth day. I could tell you that much. Now, I don't know what kind of impact he's going to have. I think we also got to taper our expectations because he is 37 years of age. And before he went down with Tommy John surgery, he did not look like his old self. He didn't even look like an MLB caliber pitcher. So I'm not sure what to expect out of him. I think his velocity was hovering around 88, 89 miles an hour today and in his past few bullpen sessions. So I don't know. I can't expect too much, but we just need someone to eat innings at this point of the season because the Blue Jays just cannot keep having these bullpen days and running their massive arms into the ground here.
Yeah, and Ross Atkins said a while ago, I know we touched on our video, that maybe they'll be making a move soon, but maybe he meant the move could be internal in the form of Hyun Jin Ryu. And Buck Martinez went on the broadcast again a couple days ago and basically said that from who he's talking to, it seems like he could come as early as, late July, so in a few weeks here, maybe even earlier after this start, because he has lost 30 pounds and is in phenomenal shape, and he's kind of had a positive attitude around the club and around camp all the way back to when he was, of course, having to go for Tommy John surgery. And ever since then, he's been nothing but a professional, and he showed it today. Again, this is his first live outing following his Tommy John surgery, so this is bigger news than, say, Alek Manoah's first start in the Florida Complex League. This is, Ryu returning from a major injury, especially at 37 years old. He has 1 year left. This is his final year on his contract, so it's a bit of a contract year for him in a sense to where he's going to want to pitch well to get maybe one final, 2-year contract or something like that, whether that be from the Blue Jays or not. But he's shown Cy Young caliber stuff as recently as 2020, and I don't know if he can go out there and just give us 4.5, even like 4.5 ERA. I'd be perfectly happy with that. So we can use guys like Trevor Richards, specifically Trevor Richards, more often in higher leverage spots, especially with the overusage of Eric Swanson and Jordan Romano, which is starting to come back to bite us a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And you touched on it perfectly right there, Nick. We've seen Eric Swanson and Jordan Romano struggle mightily as of late. And I think that coincides with their workload. They've been pitching 3 out of 4 games, 2 out of 3 games. So they've been forced into a lot of ball games. Now, Eric Swanson, I read this the other day. His career high for appearances was 60-something with the Seattle Mariners. He's already up to 40. And we're only halfway through the season for the Toronto Blue Jays. So it's just a monstrous number that he's had to come into games. And same thing for Jordan Romano. I mean, these guys are human. They're going to give up runs, but the more you run them out there, they're going to get tired, and that workload is going to catch up to them, and it has. So you do need someone at the big league level that can eat innings every fifth day. And Hyun Jin Ryu, I want to really give him credit because he hasn't played a part on the field for the better part of a year now, but he's still been there in the clubhouse. He's still been showing up and cheering on the guys, and he's had a positive outlook on this whole thing. Of course, the Blue Jays are still signing his checks, so that's going to make him happy at the end of the day, but he's still showing up and he's still being an absolute pro, and you'd expect nothing less out of Hyun Jin Ryu, who's been nothing short of just stellar his entire career.
Yeah, and he has a lot to gain by, not only winning because he's, 37 years old, wants to win another World Series, but contract year, very, very important thing. And specifically for the Blue Jays, like you just touched on, I'll touch on it a little bit more. The bullpen, because we didn't do a post game after the loss a couple nights ago. I was going to mention the same stat regarding Erik Swanson. He's already pitched like 60 or 70% of his innings pitched compared to his career high, which is ridiculous. Jordan Romano, we saw even in previous years, last year as well, once he gets overworked, he tends to start to give up a lot of, runs. He's way better in save situations than he is in non-save situations. But Erik Swanson particularly has been one of the best pitchers the Blue Jays have had, one of the best relievers in baseball, but now he's just getting absolutely overworked beyond what he should be at this point in the season, and that's not John Schneider's fault. It's because we have no one else in the bullpen. Nate Pearson has been, a lovely surprise. Trevor Richards has been phenomenal, but we haven't been able to use Trevor Richards because obviously he's been opening a lot more, and I don't know. It's a very, very rough situation for the Blue Jays to be in with the bullpen, but if Hyun Jin Ryu can come back, then maybe that'll, along with Chad Green as well, maybe that'll help mitigate other things, but there's a lot riding on Hyun Jin Ryu coming back, and way more than we could have anticipated a few months ago.
Right. Now, let me preface this by saying I don't expect much once he does come back, but if you just look at the usage of these bullpen arms, and it's not helping. It is not helping at all. And I do believe that Erik Swanson and Jordan Romano are elite bullpen arms, but there's no breathing room on this team right now. Even the games that they are winning, and they're 5 games over 500, it's not the end of the world. They're winning these games by 1 run. They're winning by 2 runs, and you got to send those high leverage arms out there every win, and every win is a grind, even against bad teams like the Oakland Athletics or other teams of that nature. So something's got to change here, and just bringing in a new presence, bringing in someone that will eat some innings and kind of alleviate that pressure from your top end arms in the bullpen. It'll be a welcome sight, whether it's Hyun Jin Ryu, whether it's Alek Manoah coming up from the minor leagues, whether it's someone else playing a part in the organization. But you need some more depth here because you have a lot of black holes up and down your pitching roster.
Yeah, and it once again points back to something we've been saying all season, which is the minor leagues having no depth. That's on Ross Atkins. You can't really blame that on anyone else, and it's starting to bite them a little bit. But Manoah had a great start in Double-A with the Fisher Cats recently, and now Hyun Jin Ryu has had a phenomenal start in the Florida Complex League, which is very, very good to see. But that'll wrap up the video. Any other final thoughts on Ryu before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just hope he gets back soon, gets back healthy, and excuse the lightning in the background there. Pretty bad weather here in Montreal.
Yeah, I think Ryu's going to have a much, quicker return than any of us could have thought. But that'll wrap up the video. Thank you guys for watching. See you tomorrow.
Thanks.